Hi, welcome to What's My Podcast. I'm Jen and I'm a library specialist for Arapahoe Library District. I love learning, and in the last couple years, I've gravitated toward podcast listening for knowledge and entertainment. I spend a lot of time listening to different content, and I'd love to share some suggestions with you. Today's segment is for kids, science and technology. All of these podcast recommendations are great for every age. My first podcast recommendation is Brains On. This is a science podcast from American Public Media. Each week, a different kid joins host Molly Brown to find answers to questions sent in by listeners. Submit your questions, drawings, and more at brainson.org. This podcast is for curious minds of all ages. Molly and her young guests give us easy-to-understand answers to some fascinating science subjects. Next is But Why? This is a show from a Vermont public media led by kids. They ask the questions, and But Why finds the answers. The hosts tackle topics large and small about nature, words, and even the end of the world. Does your kid have a question? Send it in. Adults, use your smartphone's memo function or an audio app to record your kid's question. Be sure to include your child's first name, age, and town, and then email the audio file to questions@butwhykids.org. This podcast is for you and your kids if you want to explore interesting facts about the world we live in. But Why has many experts available to provide insights into these topics. On Wow in the World, join hosts Guy Raz and Mindy Thomas on a journey away from your screens, inside your brain, out into space, and deep into the coolest new stories in science, technology, and innovation. Mindy and Guy believe that childhood thrives at the intersection of imagination and curiosity. Visit Tinkercast.com for more information and activities for curious kids. This podcast is for you and your kids if you want an interactive story-style show that answers curiosities like, do rats like being tickled? Or what's slower than slow? The Alien Adventures of Finn Caspian is a serialized science fiction story for kids told in 15 to 20-minute episodes. The host describes it as a mystery gang story, sort of like Scooby-Doo meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer in space. The story centers on Finn Caspian, an 8-year-old boy aboard the famous Marlow 280 interplanetary exploratory space station. He and his friends Abigail, Elias, and Vale are Explorers Troop 301, taking off from the Marlow to explore uncharted planets, help the occasional alien, and solve a mystery that threatens to destroy the Marlow. This podcast is for you and your kids if you like science fiction, exploration, and adventure. Make sure you scroll down to start at Season 1 for the beginning of the story. My last recommendation is Reach, a space podcast for kids. This is a weekly family-friendly exploration of our galaxy and beyond with hosts Brian Holden and Meredith Stepien. Built for kids and based on questions from kids, Reach educates with entertaining segments, fun-at-home experiments, and interviews with subject matter experts and thought partners from leading institutions like the Adler Planetarium, Cosmosphere, and Exploration Place. This podcast is for you and your kids if you would like easy-to-understand conversation about all things space. There are so many podcasts out there, and sometimes it can take time to find what you like. Podcast listening can be great when folding laundry, walking your dog, or grocery shopping. Another great way to browse in your podcast app is to check out the You Might Also Like list at the bottom of the page of the podcast you are currently listening to. All of these podcasts can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.